Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020. We started TogetherForSharon.com in her memory. Today, our guest is somebody who, again, just really inspires me to not give up, even if I'm having tough days. I see her, I smile, and keep fighting on. Just want to welcome Sara to the show, but not just to jump right into it. You're doing some fascinating and really incredible things. I saw even today your post, how much you've raised for Team Fox, Michael J. Fox Foundation, and it's something I admire. I stink at fundraising. I try. We instead of fundraising, we just donated like a lot, but $20,000 in the last few years of our own family money because I couldn't figure out how to even get some. So, I'm gonna probably have to cut back on that, but I'm gonna live through you and help you as much as I can. But welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that warm welcome. I really appreciate that. I actually love fundraising and doing charity event work, so let's get together on an event and I can help you out.
Well, you're helping, the cause and everyone, because as you know, both of us do this voluntarily. I don't accept a penny. Someone, if they ever send me a penny, I'll send it back to them. But
Yeah.
we have so much to discuss. First, we'll want to get into a little bit, about what Parkinson's means to you, but there's just so much more. I hope we have the time.
Yeah, no. So, you asked how it relates to me and in my life, and my dad is my best friend and hero, and he's actually had Parkinson's for 25 years now. He just barely turned 65, so he was diagnosed very early on when he was 40, and actually had symptoms a year prior, but he's like, "Oh, it's nothing, just a little pinky twitch, it's whatever." And he would do, kind of cover it up, put his left hand in his pocket or just sit on his hands. And finally, that kind of came to reality, to fruition when he was diagnosed. So, yeah, I started the Fox Trot 5K Utah, and our fourth annual race will be October 5th. And I started my own nonprofit, Shine a Ray of Light on Parkinson's, to honor my dad, Ray, and just to really get the word out because I can't just stand by and do nothing. And I really appreciate what you're doing here with all of the podcasts and sharing this. It's really an honor to be here. So thank you again.
I appreciate it. Sorry you and your family have to go through that. Unfortunately, we have so much in common for a bad reason, but I do see a lot of positivity, even though obviously I'd rather have my mother next to me. And I actually had a joke, funny thing, you never want to regret anything, and I don't, how I care for my mother. And even though we couldn't find a cure, but I wish I had the technology today to have a show, a podcast with my mother, but not about Parkinson, just about life. Because now, and this is what I want you, what you probably already doing, but definitely try and sit down with him, talk, and get all your childhood funny stories and the tough ones. Because I wish, that's the only regret. I wish I had that back then, and we had a show just maybe called Mom and Me, and just about life. Because even writing my book was hard because I didn't have a lot of that, information. But that's the why we're kind of almost family. I mean, I feel like we're family in the fight, but
Mm,
you're struggling and went going through this now with your father, and I
mm,
went through with my mother. But I think what you're doing is amazing because there are different types of people. Some,
mm,
like with me, loss, it's tough, but you kind of have some people move on, but I didn't want to do that because I feel like we
mm.
lost 15 years of my mother's life alive and 15 years even after. And I said, I don't want anyone to go through this. And that's why, we both kind of are in this together, but in different ways. And that's really means the world to me and so many. So thank you.
No, I really appreciate that. I have five sisters, and
Oh,
so it's so very true of how people go through different ways. And man, we have a group chat, and we're getting together, and we're going to write different stories down, like in our perspective and our experience, and then we'll have him write it down in his experience. So I'm pretty excited about that, just to I mean, my dad's, like I said, my best friend, and he always says, "I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know." So I hope to get more of that knowledge and insight and his life experience written down, just so I can, kind of know more about how he was or who he was when he was younger versus now. And I talk to him about 3 times a week, and It's always good conversation. And I also, I took care of my grandma until she passed away, and I asked my oldest sister, who's just my role model, and I asked like, what am I going to do? And she's said, well, what you can do right now is write a list down of everything you want to do, so when they do pass, you will have no regrets. So I love kind of how you mentioned that, just have no regrets. And honestly, it sounds cheesy, but I've always had this fire in me, like, what am I going to do? What legacy am I going to leave? And it's always been to be a key factor in finding the cure to Parkinson's disease. And with our 5K and other events, we have like the Derby Dazzle. We've raised around $20,000 too in our year. Our goal this year is to raise 10,000 from our 5K alone. So it's just about research. And the when I started this, it was because I saw the huge major difference that the deep brain stimulation surgery had on my dad. It cut his medication in half. It just gave him a new chance at life. After they had turned on the battery pack and everything, it was a completely different person. He was running around and jumping and playing at the park with my niece and nephews. And so I just saw what a difference it can make through research. So
Yeah, that DBS is fascinating. I've had people on the show that actually turn it on and off while we're like live, which is kind of in a
oh
way
wow.
heartbreaking, but also amazing. So I definitely agree. And there's so many technologies out there, but I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Can you also talk a little bit about, I don't know if you could talk about his first signs, because my mother kind of hid it from us for a long time because she said she didn't want to like burden the family, which I wish she did because it was
Yeah.
kind of too late. But maybe you could talk about, maybe just Parkinson's and how it impacts your family. And I just imagine what a beautiful holiday you all have. Like, me and my family, we every Sunday my mother would come over, we would all argue, like really fighting for over what to order for food, like takeout. I'm like, but now I miss it because Sundays no one cares. It's like so.
I can relate to that. Yeah. I mean, I have 32 cousins and 38 cousins. From those cousins, I don't know what you call that. I just say cousins. So I'll always be at a family event holding a baby, just bouncing there. Oh, who's this? I'm like, I have no idea, but it's my cousin. So we have a really big family. And yeah, I would say he did. I talked to him today, kind of told him what I was doing, and he said, yeah, he hit it for a year. Definitely the pinky twitch, slight tremors, and then shuffling in his walk, so in his gait. And then later on, the symptoms, progressed. But he always keeps a good attitude with it. That's what I love about my dad. He still works, he's still extremely active, but the tremors, were noticeable. And so he had to like up his medication. But a little kid came up to him and grabbed his hand and was like, stop that. He's just like, I can't. So we always tease him, and he keeps a great attitude. But I think the main symptoms were the tremors, the Parkinson's mask, and then the dyskinesia, just very rigid and tight.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like I said, he keeps a great attitude. He's fun. And for Christmas, we're like, Dad, what do you want for a Christmas gift? And it'll be like, do you want shake and bake chicken? He's just like, ha ha. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah, and I don't want to talk about age because it's not polite, but I know me and both of us are kind of younger, and
yeah.
I wonder how it affected you. And when did he kind of tell your family what? I don't want to bring in age, but like, were you younger or much younger?
So let me think. I'm horrible with numbers.
Okay,
So that
we
was
estimate. I'm just curious
yeah.
if you, because I was, older. I was about, in my 30s or, almost 40s when my mother kind of, I just heard of the word Parkinson's. I had no clue. I didn't even think much of it till it started to take over her life badly. But I'm just curious if even not just you, but maybe your younger sisters, if they noticed the difference, from when your dad didn't talk much or have the signs as to moving towards now he told everyone. I wonder if that affected anyone major. I hear a lot of younger people kind of think it's almost, not like in the word normal because they've grown up with it, but maybe you
Mhm.
could comment a little if you won't. You don't want to, you don't have to.
No, totally fine with that. I'm an open book. I believe it was in elementary school around that time. And it was normal to us because I was so young, but I noticed people would just be staring and like just wondering and want to ask questions. And my dad's all like, he's an open book as well. He'll just tell everybody, he doesn't mind. But yeah, no, it completely changed him, but he's still very, very active. And I feel like that's what keeps him young and still going. So he's 65 now, but he was a desert racer for dirt bikes. He was a semi-pro water skier for slalom. We've always been boating, we've always been active. So we noticed that start to decline, and like it just breaks my heart because we would always go boating and we would always swim and he'd dive like deep under and then grab our feet like he was the shark. And one time he noticed like, oh crap, I better get up to the surface because I'm going to drown, because he couldn't swim as well and just because they're so stiff. But yeah, we noticed that especially in his walk. And yeah, but he like I said, he's doing great, but we noticed a difference pretty early on, but then the deep brain stimulation surgery made a huge difference. So he's still kicking. And I don't know, have you seen the Still movie from Michael J. Fox?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's totally my dad. Like I watched that and I was not prepared mentally, emotionally, just crying, laughing the entire time. And my dad will show up with a black eye and be like, "Oh, you should see the other guy." And we're like, "No, what happened?" And he won't tell us. And so he'll trip and fall or get hurt, but he's a tough dude. And what did they say in the movie? He's a cockroach, he just won't die. He's just too stubborn.
Yeah, I love that movie because it's really the first one that shed light on Parkinson's, but I'm kind of upset that we don't have more. Like, I would love your father to have a movie, our book to be a movie. I just don't know the right person to agent. I did a little research. I'm a lawyer, but you need an agent. I don't know anything about Hollywood. So,
Yeah.
but I really wish like all these channels, I say it a lot, like, the Lifetime, they have some beautiful movies about life and people and family. I think
Mhm.
your journey and ours are such important things to be out there that hopefully someday someone's listening to one of these shows and never know what can happen. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now, you mentioned DBS, which a lot of individuals understand, but maybe you could talk about some treatment options and also how your father today is living well with Parkinson.
So his main treatment option was carbidopa, levodopa, and that's the dopamine that replaces the dopamine in his brain. So it's on that. And then the other one was for restless legs. It starts with a P, but it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it, but it's for restless legs. But like I said, with the surgery, it cut his meds in half, and he only has pretty bad tremors when he doesn't take his medicine or when his battery pack is not charged. So there's a lot of different treatment options, and what's fortunate is that the DBS worked for him, and for a lot of people it doesn't. And for my boss, her mom actually had the DBS surgery, and it did little to nothing. So I'm just really glad that there are options out there, but still there can be so much more. And that's why we're doing this to raise more awareness, to raise funds for Parkinson's research so that we can have more treatment options. But right now his main is a DBS, the hookup. It's kind of crazy. You can see the wires through his neck and then to his head. It's pretty cool to see like he's a bionic man. But
I
then
thought I thought having three back surgeries was horrible because half my back looks like RoboCop because I'm a cop, and my kids are like run away from me because now they see the scar. But DBS is also another monster there. But it's really amazing it's out there. My mother didn't really want to even think about it, and don't know, like you said, everyone's journey is so different. You don't know what will work, what won't. But I'm really happy to hear at least he's, able to smile because that's the most important thing. I think with you, all your sisters, he's probably smiling a lot, but maybe ripping his hair out the same time.
well, he has no hair, so he definitely ripped it all
There we go.
from
I always
stress.
say I'm going to join him soon. Now
He
you,
always drowning in the estrogen pool, but yeah.
it started touching on an area that is really, I feel like it's in my blood. I don't want it to be, but it just happened that that's what it is. And that's Parkinson's advocacy and awareness. So as we move or shift into that, this is all about you again. And wanted to, first of all, if you can see that, let me know. But I want to thank you first for also interviewing me before this. It meant a lot because I just want the world to know about you and what you're doing and your group. And the only journey that breaks my heart is the one that I'm not aware of. Like, honestly, there's some nights, even last night, I didn't sleep. So there's no reason. It just kind of breaks my heart when there's someone out there like you that are doing such incredible things. And either I didn't know about it or so many people need to be. And that's why we do this. So I just want to thank you. If everyone's watching, you can go to TogetherForSharon.com, click interviews, and you can find Sarah's in-depth interview here on how to find her. More in-depth about the Fox Trot 5K Utah and her information. One thing I might be wrong but I feel like you're like to be at least with this behind the scenes. Am I wrong? Because I've done 700, and you're the only, I thought this was you when we first met because you
Nope.
came. So is there any truth to, because I know you are public we'll get into that world, but do you like to kind of be more behind scenes with the Parkinson's, or just happen to be I'm wrong on everything?
No, no, no. So that's actually one of our runners, and her smile lights up my life. I've met her once, and I hope she's coming back this year. But her name is Juanita, and I asked her, "Hey, can you be our profile picture? I just love your light," and that's what the whole thing is about: shine a ray of light on Parkinson's, and you just look at her and you smile. So, she was one of our runners, and I'm the director for the race. So as a public figure, I like to, I have different businesses and different runs, and but with my 5K, I like to just, yeah, like you said, be behind the scenes, but bring everybody together for race day, because you could just donate, which is great as well, but there's something about everyone coming together at race day for the same cause. And so, yeah, but quick story with that: last year, we had this woman with her team of physical therapists. There were six of them, and she did the entire race with her walker. And it was the most inspiring, motivating thing I've ever seen. And her husband had passed away from Parkinson's, and she was just, a go-getter, and was so exciting to watch her. But we were waiting for everyone to finish, and we were going to do the medals, first, second, and third, on the podium, and give them their medals and prizes. And then all of a sudden, we see her and her entire team, and everybody just standing ovation, clapping for her. So that was really special, and that's why we do it. It was the most, like I said, inspiring thing I've ever seen.
The one thing I can tell you is I love, well, there's good and bad, and you're probably also aware of social media, but the positive is meeting individuals like you. But I also think when we don't have a lot of them in South Florida. We have like maybe, 2 walks a year, which is nice, except Parkinson's Awareness Month. That one's a bigger one in April, but being there live, it's just something that's hard to explain because when you're standing with people who have Parkinson's or their caregivers or loved ones or family, or people like me, out there in memory. And you hug them and they cry with you, and just such
Mhm.
a different experience that it's hard to explain virtually. But I think you
Exactly.
did an amazing job, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
I
no.
wanted to just one question I have, which it's like I think the Team Fox family is really interesting. I'm very good friends with George Manahan. I don't know if you know George, but it's a big community, but I always like highlighting people who are helping Team Fox. Sometimes then they're scared for some reason. They think I'm looking for something in return, which is odd. But in 2024, you can't. I mean, I'm sure when we met, you probably like, who is this guy? So I really appreciate you giving me a chance, but I don't want anything in return but people to help you. So anyway, what made you, stay with or kind of jump on the area with
Mhm.
Team Fox and Michael J. Fox Foundation? Because there's so many things out there. I know Together for Sharon, we don't want to be a foundation because I'd rather help people like you, and I don't
Mhm.
want them. So that was my decision. But just curious, was there other options, or did you always like Team Fox? Or maybe you could comment just on that.
Yeah, so I believe that they donate 88 cents to every dollar. So the overhead costs are not that much. Sometimes people take more than they give, and that's not the case with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So I did research a couple of other nonprofits, but they've raised, I believe, $2 billion in funding for research for Parkinson's disease. So I just wanted to be, it's a drop in the bucket, but I wanted to be a part of that. And they just look at it differently, and it is personal, and he is well known, so people know the name and it is trusted.
Yeah.
So that's definitely the route that I went, because everyone knows Michael J. Fox, whether it be from his movies or from him having Parkinson's in his movies and just being, a stand-up guy. So that's kind of the reason I chose the Michael J. Fox Foundation and stuck with it. Like I said, it'll be our 4th annual race this year.
I love him. He's a hero of mine. I had the honor to meet him a few times. I was actually at the Parkinson's Unity Walk last year and he was there. I
Oh,
hope
that's
someday we can meet at one of these things, but they raised $2 million just in this one afternoon, which was pretty amazing. But I
that is
appreciate you telling us that. I'm a big Michael J. Fox Foundation supporter. They're linked on our website if you click donations, and everything goes directly to them. I think it's beautiful that some of these organizations created, links in my mother's memory, and it goes again right to them. And I can stay out of all that money stuff. I don't want to deal with it. So it's great. But I appreciate you telling us that, and just amazing. I wanted to also share here a little bit about where people can go to donate to your cause. And if you go to, I don't know if they'll listen to this, but give Michael J. There's probably an easier website we'll get to, michaeljfox.org/team/581-469. I feel like we just gave out your social security.
change that, right?
Maybe can you tell us about how, someone can reach out to you or social media or anything, and then help, the cause.
Yeah, so all of my social media is Saramar Nilsson, Sarmar Nilsson, Nilsson. So Facebook is Sarah Marie Nilsson. TikTok, Instagram, anyone can reach me there, or our email is foxtrot5kutah@gmail.com. I'm looking to put together more events. Like I said, the Foxtrot 5K, we have the Derby Dazzle fashion show, charity and gala, and then we're doing hopefully for my nonprofit that I recently just started, the inaugural day event, just to let everyone know like this is what it's all about. But yeah, any of those will work. I want to do different events with people and whatever that looks like to them. I've been planning events since I was, I planned my birthday party since I was 5 years old. So it kind of just naturally went that way. And I want to get a lot of different events going on. So like I said, whatever that looks like for people, I'm more than happy to help and have the proceeds go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation and my nonprofit. So that's about all about awareness and advocating for the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
Thank you. I wish we had you here in South Florida. We need you. We need to have one of your sisters move down to South Florida. So there's not really, I actually had the luck to attend and had a table at the IQ event for Michael J. Fox a few months ago. And I think it's only once every few years, but they don't have as big of a presence in South Florida. But I really love them because I've worked closely with the public policy division and
Yeah.
with the national plan to end Parkinson's. And they actually just put our book, which is really an honor, on their website under the book. So I never dreamt like my mother would have to, we'd talk about Parkinson, but to have her on their page, like it's pretty incredible. So, and again, we don't really care about the sales or anything. I donated it all to Michael J. Fox and to many other organizations. So thank you. All right, now I want to kind of shift a little more about Sarah. So we're going to leave the world.
Your
I mean,
book, that's really exciting, and on the
um,
website, very
yeah.
exciting.
No, I appreciate it. I have to get you a copy if you have time, because there are some parts I tell people still fighting it. Maybe you want to skip one chapter or two because it's tough, but
Yeah.
it's almost like a movie. You start reading, you don't want to put it down, but I think it's
Well,
things because a lot of us are curious. We don't know what's going to happen, and again, nothing that happened on my mother's journey means that it'll happen on someone else, but.
reality, and you don't have to sugarcoat things. You can be happy that you had the time with her and sad simultaneously that she's gone, so I definitely would love your book, and I would love to read that. I have about 5 books I'm reading now, but I love reading, and I'm in a book club.
Nice. Keep me in your in the rotation when you're out of books.
I will.
All right, so now I just have a few more questions, but I could ask millions, but list 3 words that describe who you are.
I would say driven, optimistic, and compassionate.
Thank you. And then can you talk a little bit about your other world? It's almost like you're Batman, and then the daytime you're helping fight crime or really fight Parkinson's, and then at night you're also a pageant winner and things that I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I was, and I asked for one of your pictures for Parkinson's, and it was a beautiful, like beauty queen thing. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know how to correlate this. So maybe you could tell everyone because that's a pretty incredible, achievement. So congratulations, even though I'm probably late.
No, totally, all good. So I got into pageants when I was 17, and I saw my cousin on stage and I said, I want to be like that. I want to be confident and strong. And most pageant systems, they have you have your social platform. So if you win, what are you going to do? And that's what I love about pageants. It's not just about beauty and dresses. That's just kind of in addition to it. But my platform's always been shine a ray of light on Parkinson's. So getting the word out, raising funds, and I was able to go to Turkey to the Miss Aura International pageant as Miss Aura USA. So that's kind of how it ties in, is you have a social initiative, and this is what you're doing to have a greater sphere of influence of how you're going to change the world, how you want to be, how do you want to be a positive impact. So that's kind of what it's like. And then I have another big announcement. I can't announce it yet, but I will be competing again in Taiwan. And it's a completely different system, but it is the same when for their system, it's finding women who are leaders, and their goal is to empower others and be the beauty, and then find the beauty and then be the beauty. And it's just being a role model. So that's kind of a little bit of what I do. I also own Utah Couture Closet, and I just have a lot of different things going on. So it kind of all ties into what I'm really passionate about, and that's being creative, raising funds, and just being a public figure who does make a positive impact, in this life.
That's amazing. I think we very similar because everyone wonders why I have, the law degree, police, the PhD, and the also police and a lawyer. But it was all actually I was an advocate before I even heard of Parkinson's on helping victims of crime throughout the world, and that was something that meant a lot to me to be the voice for those who are voiceless. And now I've kind of moved into the world because of what happened with my mother with Parkinson's, and I feel like it's the same because so many people with Parkinson's fighting just don't have a voice now because of
Mhm.
the disease. So we need to continue the younger generation to fight to end this disease. And I think we'll do it. I'm very hopeful. So thank you.
Yeah.
What is one, this might be more, but what is one moment or most memorable moment that stands out through all of your work so far with Parkinson's awareness that you could share?
I would say our one of our biggest sponsors is Hermanson Equipment in Ephraim, Utah, and I haven't met him yet, but his name is Cameron Hermanson. And him having Parkinson's and battling Parkinson's and asking, how's your dad doing? Is he like living well? How is his quality of life? And I send him pictures of my dad skiing and just being active. And I would say just meeting people who are going through this disease, because it's so difficult and terrible, but having that community and having that support, I would say that's the most touching. I haven't met him once, and he's donated to our race every single year, and he's the first person. So it just goes to show that people are just humanity is so good, and there's so much more good in the world than bad when this disease is so bad. But we come together and we're fighting it, and I do believe we will find a cure. I do. We just barely had the biomarker um that they can see if you have Parkinson's, correct? And I know, like, it's just we're on the verge of it, hopefully sometime soon. But that's what I would say is the most inspiring and exciting about doing this work, is meeting people that help you and you help them, like a symbiotic relationship.
Thanks. And this is one of my favorite questions because it brings caregivers in. Usually I ask someone with Parkinson, but since you're on the other side like me, this is an interesting question, but who helps you during times of struggle? Because as I was a caregiver, there's times where it's not easy because you see your loved one going through this battle and you're holding their hand and you have, sometimes I remember I didn't have any answers. I didn't lie to my mother about what was happening. We didn't even know. I'm even shocked still today, like what happened, because I don't understand. Because my mother
Mhm,
was only 69, and that's, there are people with 85, 90 still, even though they're struggling, they're still with us. But maybe you
mhm.
can talk about, when I'm sure it's might be your sisters, but who helped you during times of struggle. And do you have any tips too for any caregivers listening?
Yeah, so I would say my family. You have to lean on them because um they are going through it as well, and they can just give you the best advice and the love, comfort, and support. But also what I found pretty surprising was caregiver support groups on Facebook. It's just people who are going through the same thing, who have to see it every day and progressively getting worse. It's, progressive brain disease. So it's when they get dementia, it's not if, it's when. But those would be the main people that I support, or the main avenues of the support system for me, family, and then Facebook, meeting people. What was that?
Something about that's my next area, social media. Obviously you probably meet 99% good people. I've had some odd ones. So maybe, I don't know if you want to share, but do you have any, like, it's a hard question, but do you have any, is it always positive, or even with Parkinson's? I wonder if you ever have any tougher situations, or is it always, positive? Because social media, we're opening both of our lives to the public. So, and especially with your background, not just in, Parkinson's awareness, but also in the beauty world, I imagine there's probably interesting people out there. And as a cop and lawyer and a
Yeah.
father to worry about, someone has to.
Yeah, so majority is positive. I would say I met all the people at Rocksteady Boxing in Utah. They have several locations in Utah, so shout out to them. They're a boxing community where they help people with Parkinson's specifically. So I met them through Instagram, and a lot of our sponsors through Instagram and Facebook as well. But people who are a little odd or different, I would say when it comes to raising funds and money, people do get a little iffy. And so, for example, people saying, "Oh, well, is there a discount for this?" I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, but it goes to charity," and they get a little offended, I guess. But I mean, I'm used to that. It's for a good cause. I know where my intentions lie, but yeah, I mean, there's some experiences I've been hung up on several times, with people who just don't know who I am or like what we're doing. So, I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because what you're doing, like I said, the positives just outweigh the negatives by far. So,
I always say never let that one negative one stop the millions that are helping. And I actually wrote a book about this. It'll be out in a few years because I don't want to put another one yet, but it's actually going to talk. I've had some wacky things. When my mother passed, like a week later, I went to those same Facebook groups and someone accused me of my mother not passing away and I'm not real. And it was really like, I felt like my mother passed away again. And it's like,
wow.
go there. So I'm not the biggest fan of the Facebook,
Yeah.
groups, but obviously there are again much more incredible people out there. But I'm really honest on all these shows, and I have nothing to hide. So I really
Mhm.
like to talk about the tough topics too. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh,
So the next area, we're almost wrapping up because I could ask you so many questions you'll never want to talk again.
no, I definitely do. We should do this again sometime.
Here's one interesting one. Is there something you would have looked back today, 10 years ago, and done differently?
So I wasn't like, for me personally, or in what realm.
I guess more in like the world of Parkinson's and where you
Okay.
might not have been doing it 10 years ago, but it sounds like you kind of were because when you found out, you were really starting there, even though you might not have realized.
So, I mean, to keep it real, when I was young, my dad told me it was more than 10 years, but he was just like explaining it to us, sat us down, and I still to this day feel awful about it. But he said like I have Parkinson's, and the first thing I said was, "Well, am I gonna get it?" Like it was
Well,
so.
that's a good, that's not,
Oh,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I get that question actually now a lot because we don't know if it's really genetic. I've
Mhm,
interviewed a lot of people who are actually generations of mothers and father have it. So I get
mhm,
this question a lot. I don't have an answer, but I
mm,
just keep fighting for others. But you never know. God
yeah.
forbid, we could both, be in that situation. So,
Well, from my understanding, it is genetics, it is environmental, it's a combination. So when talking to my dad today, he said, I asked like any advice or tips for people, and he said, don't play in the orange groves because he grew up in California and there's all the pesticides there. And there's actually, you mentioned that you're really involved with politics and with
I
legislation. I'd really like to get more involved with that because I've signed the
stay away
petition.
from I stay away from politics. I do get involved if it's for Parkinson because that's bipartisan. I
Yes.
don't want to deal with all the other.
Okay, same. But it's just insane to me that the Roundup is still legal and Paraquat is the herbicide directly linked with causing Parkinson's is still legal in, I believe, 23 different states.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy to me. But he said to stay away from pesticides, herbicides, and what else did he say? Just to keep being active if you do have it. If you don't, active healthy lifestyle, drink lots of water because everybody's dehydrated.
Because you said that I have there.
I know I don't have mine, I don't have it right now.
Thanks. Yeah, there's so much in what you just said that I could talk so much longer. But again, so the next few are, if this is one of my favorites because we mentioned it, but if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it? It's probably, Ray of Light or Shine, but
Yeah, I for that, that's a hard one. Probably just shine.
I'm glad that you didn't cry today because unfortunately I've made people for some reason.
Well, I was on the verge many times that I'll just cry later.
That's not what we have for sport. Back,
Like therapy session.
I'm the one that needs the therapist. Grief thing. But so if you don't have the answer, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I'll think on it.
All right. And then the last question is if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, which you already gave so many incredible words of encouragement, but maybe you can reiterate what those would be.
Mhm.
Not to put you on the
Yeah, no, I would just say that you're not alone. What we're doing is trying to make the subject, the topic, not taboo or is it stigma, just not a stigma about it. That there are so many people who love and support you and want the best for you and want to find a cure. So when people do feel alone, just remember that there are so many more people out there who are trying to like help, trying to genuinely help those suffering with this disease, whether they have it or they're a caregiver. There's just so much more positive, and the medications, the surgeries, and the technology is advancing. So I'm just grateful for that and to keep hope alive.
Thanks. And maybe you could tell everyone, oh, first, did I miss any area you wanted to talk about? And then if you could share any way people can reach you or the website or anything.
No, I think we covered everything. Yeah, to reach me, Foxtrot 5K Utah at gmail.com or Sara Nilsson for all social media. And yeah, those would be the main places to reach me. And I would love to do an event in Florida. I actually have family, adopted family who I just said, you're my family living there. So
Well, you have
that,
to be a warning if you come, you might never want to leave because I don't know
yeah,
much. I'm a big, big, big Utah Jazz fan when Karl Malone and John Stockton played, and
yeah,
Mark Eden was my favorite because I have red
oh,
hair. But
amazing.
those were the days. Now I don't know. I actually saw them recently play the Miami Heat, and it wasn't the same. But that team was like a legendary team. So, but
No, that's crazy that you say that because the little girl who I nannied, who's now my little sister, we went horseback riding. We actually saw Carl Malone walking like at his house. I was just like, this isn't real life.
he's probably a nice guy, but he's like literally probably in the top three of my favorite players in the history of NBA. I love him.
Yeah, incredible.
Well, I do have one last message for you and everyone listening. Here it goes. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you. And as Sarah said, you're never alone. I will advocate along with Sarah for you. And together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always say I'm just getting started because, like even meeting you, like I just happened to be on Instagram. I tried to cut back because I've done 700 regular interviews and it's kind of time. Then we moved to this, which I really like. But when I saw you kind of pop up, if that's the technical term, and then I saw what you're doing, and it was just fascinating. And it was just another person and journey and your dad that really touched my heart. And I was like, sometimes I would joke that I'm aggressive because I just feel that the world, I don't want to be the only one to know. I want the world to know what you're doing. So just so honored that we got to meet then and now. And, sometimes I show the interviews that people have done, and it's already been like, for us, I think it's been like 6 months ago. And it's
Mhm.
amazing how fast time goes. But I feel like if we all join together, that we are going to find a cure, and we're just so much stronger together. So thank you so much again for your time. It means the world to me and so many.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me again, and let's do this again sometime and have an event and legislation, and we got to do it all.
Oh, need more time. We got to get that time traveling machine back from Back to the Future. But we have to go back. So I just want to thank Sarah again. Everyone, please support her, donate, show up in the Utah events. I wish someday I might be able to get down there. I got to fix my health, but please support her. Yeah, share and also follow her journey. But I just want to thank everyone also listening. Share this. We're not in this for anything. We just want a cure, and that's more important than anything, in my opinion, in the world. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son. And stay tuned. There's so much more to come. So many more journeys to share. And we're always here literally 24/7 for you all. So reach out because, again, you're never alone. Thank you.